It's time for the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Each week, Trading Stocks Made Easy demystifies stock trading and investing so you can profit big. And now, here's the host of Trading Stocks Made Easy, the wealthy investor, Tyrone Jackson.
Well, here we are again. It's Tyrone Jackson, the wealthy investor, and welcome back to Trading Stocks Made Easy, the podcast, which, by the way, I'm trying to get turned into a major motion picture, a television series. You know how it goes. You just want as many different products and outlets as we can possibly have. Hey, you know, I'm teasing you, but I'm always happy to be able to spend some time with you right here on this show. You know, it's really interesting because a lot of people who listen to the show and then come to either a live event or meet me somewhere out and about, they say, you know, I really love your show. And by the way, I'm so thankful for all of you who actually listen to the show and wait for the next episode. It's pretty amazing. But they always say to me, like, you know, the thing that I really love most about the show is like your students who come on actually are like real people. And that is the whole point to Trading Stocks Made Easy, is to realize that you can change your life and start collecting more residual income from the stock market as a stock market trader and investor instantly once you get the right financial education and you have the right mindset, because that's the key to being really successful and financially independent. Is it's all about your mindset. Well, we're going to continue in that tradition today, and my guest who's joining me here is one of my favorite students. Now, you know, I teach a lot of people on a monthly basis, but I really get to know quite a bit of my students, and I actually get very attached to them, and I couldn't imagine them not being around. And joining us today is one of my favorite people, and Carol Werth is here on the line with us. Carol, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Tyrone. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm just so happy you could be here on the podcast. Now, you hadn't listened to a lot of episodes before we talked about you coming on as a guest. Is that correct?
Correct.
You did like everybody else. You binged on Trading Stocks Made Easy, and you got caught up in all the back episodes.
Of course I did.
One of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show was because, I mean, you know, there have been many incarnations in your life. School teacher, stock market trader and investor, and then published author. So we're going to touch upon all of those. But you've been trading and investing in the stock market for how long now?
How long I've been trading and how long I've been actually having money to do that is two different things. When I first started studying with you, Tyrone, I didn't have a penny to trade. In fact, I was really in debt and just barely scraping by. And you helped me change my thinking around abundance and wealth and trading. I saw something in your presentation that made me realize that I didn't have to keep just sort of making it, just scraping by, because I chose to be a teacher and wanted to make a difference for kids. So I didn't have any money when I first started. For the first I'd say 10 months of studying with you, all I could do was paper trade. That was it. I didn't even have an account.
Okay.
But I learned. And then after that time, and so that was in fall of 2008. And so it wasn't until the spring of 2009 that I actually had any money to start trading. So that's kind of a long way around to answer your question. But, you know, it's been, 7 years that I've been studying with you and actually using money to invest and trade and build wealth in my life.
Wow, I didn't even realize it's been 7 years. Has it really been that long?
Well, it's actually been a little over 7 years because, like I said, at first I wasn't trading with any money. Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, now, you know, it's funny because a lot of people say that, particularly in our live classes, there are people who just want to be in the room with people who have a wealth consciousness and who are doing great things, because that's a great energy to just absorb. So let's go back, because there's probably someone out there who's listening, who's in a similar position just like you are. What attracted you to the stock market, and how did you see the potential for it changing your life?
I wasn't. I didn't have a vague notion that I could even buy a stock. I thought only rich people could buy stocks. And it wasn't until I saw a presentation that you did explaining how trading could work in my life that all of a sudden a light bulb went on, and I realized that there was something out there for me in the stock market. and that I wasn't. I kind of had it that I was just. My goodness, I taught high school chemistry, biology, math, etc. for years, and I had it that I was just kind of too dumb in that way to get how to trade. That was just beyond me, and I was wrong. And you helped me to see that. In that first presentation I saw you, it was like, that's it. I have to study with this man. I can have a different kind of life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's extraordinary that what I saw for myself in your presentation was the possibility of not being poor and broke all the time and scraping by, that I could actually not only live an abundant life, but help others to do the same. And that was the possibility I saw in that first presentation I ever experienced with you. And I've been studying with you ever since.
Yes. Well, thank you. That is mighty nice, as I always say. But, sometimes in our lives, we can, all the time, actually, in our lives, we write a story. We say, well, I am this person. I'm on this track in life. And we tell ourselves this story that we wind up believing. And that story sometimes is jam-packed with a lot of limited notions of who we can be. Is that also something you experienced?
Oh, absolutely. So I chose to be an inner city high school teacher, and I had it that money was for rich people, and they were probably pretty greedy and not doing good things in life. Right?
Right.
That's just one of the beliefs I had about money and one of the things you challenged me to do was to examine my beliefs around money, around abundance, around wealth, and I've done all that and saw what was there, which was not true. To have money doesn't mean that you're going to be greedy and hold it all to yourself. In fact, I've been able to be more generous in my life since I started trading, and when I got to you, I was over $30,000 in debt, and like I said, just scraping by. And that no longer is the case. I'm no longer in debt. I own property. I have been able to quit my teaching career, leap of faith, and had the money to work on this project, this book, and develop my own business for a period of about 6 months where I wasn't generating any kind of income, but I had the money to do it because I'd been trading.
Very good. Now, let's go from you're sitting in this class with other people who are actually trading and how you initially came up with money to open an account. Explain that to us.
Well, first off, you challenged us to put aside, $350 a month, and I started doing that, and then actually I didn't even remember. See, this is where it goes. I didn't even realize that I had some money tucked away in a place. I'd forgotten about it, and I found about $5,000 that I had available, and all of a sudden there it was. It's like it's a funny thing. How do I not know that?
Right.
But I didn't seem to remember that. So I had this money that I was accruing $350 a month, and boy, that took something, right?
Mm-hmm.
To put that aside. And when I opened my account, when I first opened my account with the money, I think I opened my TD Ameritrade account with $500 and bought some Coca-Cola stock, and it was like magic,
right, Right.
And then that right there, continuing to put money into that account before I had enough to really do any kind of serious trading, that did something for me. And then doing the trades in the classroom with other people who were actually trading their stocks and making money, it was just so encouraging, and I could see something. I could see something for myself until that actually occurred, and then I started making money. I remember the first trade, I didn't even know how to do it on the computer. Mm-hmm. You had to walk me through it, but it was awesome. And so, I would just encourage anyone who thinks that it's not possible. Geez, I was the poster child for was going to not possible at one point in my life, and now anything's possible.
That is absolutely correct. Okay, so now let's move a little bit forward in your journey. It's been a year, and now you're trading. And there's one thing that we haven't spoken about on this show I want to talk about. At some point, when you start making money, and this happens for all of us, especially when we first start trading, greed kicks in, right? And you're like, I'm making money. how do I accelerate this? When did you first encounter greed? Because once you get over your limitations in your thinking, you realize how much money can actually be made, you get greedy. When did you first encounter greed?
Ooh, that probably showed up about a year into my trading. I have to admit, so I overextended myself in my margin and had a margin call.
Yes.
Because something I thought, well, it's going to go up. It's going to go up. Things are going to go up, and they didn't. And I ended up having to deposit money into my account because I had to cover something that I didn't have enough money to cover.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, did that sort of jolt me, And you had talked about it, of course, but you can mitigate that by having a discipline. And that's one of the things that I've learned from you is to have a discipline in my trading and to be patient.
Absolutely. Now, hang on one second, because some people who are listening might not know what a margin call is. Okay. So when you put money into a trading account, and I'll use the figure of $5,000, if you apply for margin, you're actually applying for something which is a line of credit. So in other words, if I have $5,000 in stock and I go to my online trading house and I say I'd like to use margin, if I qualify, they will extend to me another $5,000. So you have $5,000 of your cash, but what we call your stock buying power is now $10,000. Your margin is secured by the stocks that you own. So as they rise, your line of credit also rises. However, if those stocks decline, your line of credit also declines. And the rule that I have is that you never use more than 50% of your margin. Because if you use all of your margin and your stocks dip down, you can get something called a margin call, where your broker says, you owe us money because your collateral is dropped, therefore your line of credit is dropped. And what a lot of people don't realize is when you get a margin call, they actually lock you out of your account. Now, I don't know if you had that experience where your username and password doesn't work.
No, apparently it wasn't that bad.
Oh, okay. Well, for some people, your username and password doesn't work, and they're like, you need to call us right now because you can't even get into your trading account. So for you, you weren't locked out, right?
No, it was like you either need to sell some of your stocks right now or deposit money, one of the two. And
you chose to make the deposit.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, once you got past that first margin call, then what happened?
I was like, oh, don't ever do that again, Carol.
Right. A little too far, too fast, right?
Right. And I mean, I recognized it immediately for what it was.
This is all of my students, especially because we're covered call writers. We're taking in guaranteed monthly income constantly. You tend to get a little aggressive, but we don't feel like, as somebody said, it didn't feel like I was being greedy. Did you have that experience?
No, it didn't. It occurred to me like I was taking an opportunity.
Taking an opportunity.
Yes, and then when I really looked at it, I'm like, dear Lord, you abandoned the discipline completely. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's really what happened.
All right, so let's move on a little bit in your journey, because what makes you so unique, Carol, is you are willing to sacrifice. Didn't you at one point, so you can get more money in your brokerage account, didn't you cut off your cable?
Oh, for sure.
Yes, because that freed up more cash, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And which is an interesting thing, because I no longer even own a TV, which is so funny, because I discovered something, and that was when you're open to things like changing your mind around finances and abundance and all that kind of thing, you get, it's like how you do anything is how you do everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when I became open to this, it's like it opened me up in so many ways to what's possible. And all of a sudden I realized that I really didn't miss watching TV or any of that sort of thing. And I just never got it again and never got cable again.
Mm-hmm.
And then I gave my TV away. It's so interesting.
What makes your story so interesting is that you were willing to give up a few things, right?
Yes.
So that you can get money in that account so that you could achieve some measure of financial freedom.
So this is what was happening for me during those early years when I was still teaching in the inner city in Oakland, California, I was making probably on average $10,000 less a year than I would have if I'd been in one of the big public schools. I was just getting by, really. But I cut things such that, number one, I was paying down my debt, simultaneously putting money into my trading account. I was cutting the things that would be sort of extras in life,
mm-hmm.
like cable, and, going out for a latte or whatever. I was not doing that. I was just putting the money away and paying off my debt at the same time. And it was extraordinary how fast it moved.
Right.
It was like I couldn't believe it. It didn't take, I just kind of thought it would be like I'd be working till I was dead. And I was probably, I don't know what I thought, but it wasn't a pretty picture.
Okay.
And when I started to see something different, I started to take different action.
Absolutely. Okay, so what I want people to understand is sometimes, particularly if you don't come from a wealthy background, the question that you need to ask yourself is, are you willing to make certain sacrifices to feed that account so that it brings you in a year or 2 or 3 years residual income that you can then live off of? Because, Carol, you're a shining example of starting with very little and growing your money so that it now supports your lifestyle. Okay, so when we come back, I want to dive a little bit more into which stocks you trade, your favorite trades you have done through the years, and we're also going to talk a little bit more about your journey into becoming a published author. So don't go anywhere. I'll be right back with Carol Werth right after this.
You're listening to the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Want to learn more about how to trade and invest in the stock market? Visit thewealthyinvestor.net/products. That's thewealthyinvestor.net/products and order the Wealthy Investor's Guide to Stock Market Success audio series. This easy-to-follow 5-CD audio series and manual will teach you the basics of how to buy and sell stocks, how to collect quarterly dividends for life, plus hidden income generating strategies like covered call writing and volatility trading. Start creating financial freedom right now. Get the financial education you need to get ahead. Visit thewealthyinvestor.net/products.
Wealthy Investor, Wealthy Investor, WealthyInvestorRadio.com.
That's right. If you haven't subscribed to the Wealthy Investor newsletter, what are you waiting for? Head on over to thewealthyinvestor.net and make sure you subscribe so I can send you free information about what's going on in the market and certain stocks you should look for if you're not yet ready to take the plunge on your own. But join me at thewealthyinvestor.net. Okay, we're back with Carol Werth, who's telling us her story, her journey from school teacher to a shift in mindset to stock market trader. Okay, so Carol, we talked before the break about this idea of you making certain sacrifices to get money into your account, pay down your debt, which is also interesting because you were building wealth at the same time. You could achieve two things at the same time. Let's get into some of the early stocks that you liked trading. Do you recall what they were?
Oh, definitely. Apple.
Okay.
I was in love with Apple pretty much, but I just dated it. I did break up with Apple when it was no longer a good trade.
Okay.
Coca-Cola, AT&T, those were the primary ones. And then Verizon. And then more recently, I had been trading quite a bit of Starbucks.
Yes.
MasterCard, Visa. And then, of course, building positions in some of the Dow 30 quality stocks. But trading those primarily in my IRAs.
Right. And when you say trading them, were you volatility trading them, cover call writing on them, or what?
I was doing both.
Okay.
And do both. Buy stocks, sell calls, but also, depending on the volatility in the market, will hold some of the shares for volatility trading, and then if volatility shuts down, then sell the call.
Which is very much the way that I teach it. Now, let me ask you this, because there's certain strategies that we use in the Wealthy Investor Program where we also trade in our retirement accounts, which seem really scary because it's like, these are my long-term dollars. I don't want to lose them, right? You're also trading in a retirement account, or two retirement accounts, or one? Remind me.
Actually, two.
Okay.
Two. One, I have a Roth IRA and then a traditional IRA. And so I have both those accounts that I'm trading. And I don't know if So what I do is I do what you taught it's called the sweep. So I'll buy stocks, sell a cover call with the intention of being called out at the end of every month.
Right.
So sometimes, depending on what's going on with the market, I'll sell in the money or just out of the money calls or split it and see what happens. But always, every single month, I'm generating income.
And that's really interesting. And we don't have time, obviously, to go into what the sweep is, but it really just requires that you trade 3 stocks each month.
Right.
You make your money, and then you're not in your retirement account playing with it, every day or every week. You're just going to work for about 7 minutes, executing some trades. You make the guaranteed income, you collect your dividends, and you move on. And you feel confident in trading your retirement dollars. What gave you that confidence?
The system, really. I mean, the system that you laid out made so much sense to me that it just seemed like a no-brainer. Like, of course this is going to work. And because I'm trading high-quality Dow stocks, 2 of the 3, and then I have a high-quality growth stock. I have 2 Dow and 1 growth that I'm trading. I feel confident in those stocks, number one, and in the system, no matter what happens with the market, that I can generate income in those accounts. And that's what's happened. They've grown way, way beyond what they might have in someone else's hands. I mean, it's extraordinary what's happened in those accounts. Like, wow.
Yes, and I have to ask this just because it's one of those questions. Could you ever imagine giving your retirement money back to someone and letting them manage it with what you know now? It's so hard, right? And you can't go backwards once you get that financial education as a trader.
No, I mean, absolutely not. Like, are you kidding me?
Right.
They're wanting to say like something like 5 or 6% would be amazing in a year.
Right.
What?
Right. Yeah, right. Yeah, sometimes we do that in a month, right? So it's just...
Yeah, exactly.
All right, we're running out of time, if you can believe it, but I want to talk in just the time that we have left. Also, you have stopped teaching.
Right.
You also now own property, so you really turned your life around.
Absolutely.
And somehow you became a published author. Now, we don't have a lot of time, but just explain how that happened.
Well, this has been just about a year ago. I resigned my tenured teaching position, after 26 years of teaching. I just had like I said, when you open your mind to what's possible, you open your mind to what's possible, not just in wealth, but in everything. And so I knew that I have a gift of teaching, and I was prompted to teach other things, so spiritual growth and development. And so I wrote a book. I quit my job, moved up to my property in Priest Lake for the summer, and spent time meditating, praying, and running and playing, and just was open to what was possible. And the book came. I mean, honestly, it just came. And then I got prompted to begin a business. So I now have an online business. I have a website. I have a Twitter. I have a Facebook page. I mean, it's like all of this stuff that happened came out of a desire to give back, a desire to really stand for a world that works for everyone, and the changing of the if my mindset could change, anybody's could. Because boy, I was firmly entrenched in where I was, and it just wasn't. It was based on faulty ideas about life and about myself, and so that's what I'm up to, is playing the game of making a difference for others, and this is the way I'm choosing to do that. My stock trading really made that possible. Without what I've done with you, I wouldn't have had the financial freedom to do that.
Yes, and that is so important, and that's why I have the Wealthy Investor Program. Now tell everyone the name of your book, because they can get it on Amazon.com. What's the name of the book?
It is Stop Being Stupid, Your Adventure from Victimhood to Radical Self-Love.
Yes, and Carol Werth is the author, and you want to read this book, go to Amazon.com and order it if you're really about the business of changing your mindset and thinking something different. Because you've written this book, Carol, but you know what's so great is you're a shining example of this journey and this evolution of being on one path and just having an open mind, so your whole life can shift. So if someone who's listening and they're saying, well, that's great for Carol, and she was a school teacher and now she doesn't work, and I'm not sure that, trading and investing is really for me, what would you say? What 2 pieces of advice would you give to that person who's still wondering if all of this is real?
Well, number one, I would suggest that they listen to some of your podcasts beyond this. I mean, listen and listen and listen, and ask yourself the question, what's possible for me in my life? What do I really want? Sometimes we don't know what we want, but maybe even just ask the question, I want to know what I want. And what I know is that the universe will answer any question that we ask. So asking powerful questions, being open, and listening to people like you who have a positive message that is uplifting and can help us shift our mindset is so critical. Surrounding yourself with that kind of energy.
Very good. And those are words to listen to. Now, right before you go, you've also been able to take some of the money that you've earned and in big and small ways, you help other people, right? Which is the whole point of like becoming financially freedom, is that we all help other people. How have you helped other people with the money that you've earned?
Well, it largely translates into, for me, having the time and energy to work with other, mostly women, in coaching and helping facilitate their personal growth. I've been a teacher for years, and so I've worked with students in all kinds of ways in that regard outside of the classroom. But most recently, it's been through working personally with women and coaching them in what they're doing in their mindset. That is the primary way that I've been able to help others moving forward in this journey.
Right, because when you free up your time from having to work, you have more time available. It's like abundance in all things, right?
Absolutely. And then, of course, I donate actual money to various charities and other things, the spiritual communities and things of that nature. So I'm able to literally financially also assist in that way.
And that is big. And if anybody's listening today and wondering why they should learn and get a financial education, Carol Werth, you are a shining example of shift, change, and great things happening. And I really thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you, Tyrone. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate your work.
Well, thank you. All right, that music means it is time for us to move on. Our time, just like a call option, has expired. What I want you to do is think about what's important to you, where you'd like to be in the next 2, 3, or 5 years in your life. You can make fantastic changes if you keep an open mind and get that financial education. Hey, this is Tyrone Jackson, the Wealthy Investor, saying join me next time right here on Trading Stocks Made Easy.
You've been listening to the Trading Stocks Made Easy podcast. Be sure to rate and review our show on iTunes. While you're on iTunes, be sure to click the subscribe button and you'll automatically receive our next episode.